Another good morning to you, YouTube. After walking past this piece of shit for years like a stranger in the street, I finally decided to plunk down my 30% off any item under $10 coupon to see what I was missing. Turns out, not much. 80 pieces for $7. You know it's going to have problems, and today we're going to find them and hopefully fix them. Right off the bat, why on earth would you need 1, 2, 3, 4 different collets? Dremel makes do with just one. I don't see how this could possibly save cost by including more parts. But at least 2 of them fit standard Dremel bits. So I'm probably just going to chuck the others and simplify my existence on this planet by a microscopic amount. The second problem is the specs. 16,000 RPM. That's actually totally believable, but it's Harbor Freight, so we're going to test it anyway because they're probably lying about that too. Let's put a little bit in there with some reflective tape. Turn it on. Stay out of the line of fire. And see what we got. Ah, crap. Hold on a minute. I decided long ago not to store my rarely used tools with the batteries in them. They tend to leak and corrode terminals, and even if they don't do that, they just die and I waste batteries. So I've got it hooked up to the old power supply, set for 9 volts, and this should work just fine. Oop, turn it on. There we go. Alright, let's see what the truth is here. $16,000. Yeah, that's not 16,000. Now, in the tool's defense, the motor's kind of small, and this is a big bit. So I'll go ahead and put a smaller bit in there. Maybe that'll work better. Give it a fighting chance. That's a little better, but it's still not 16,000. So, alright, we got it hooked up with our amp probe meter. It's like Fluke, but for hipsters. And let's see how close it is to 0.7 amps. Oop. She's running away from me. I'll just tighten this until I hear the plastic crack a little bit and then back off. That's it. Back off a little bit. Alright, hopefully that holds it steady. Alright, let's try this again. Wow. That's incredible. 1.2 amps on a power supply rated for half an amp. So, yeah, that's... And it's UL listed. It's actually got a sticker on it. Now, granted, this isn't the most high-resolution meter in the world, and that UL listing, I'm assuming, only applies to the power supply and not to the whole kit. But still, supply something that is putting out double the current it's rated for, and then sell that on shelves with UL stickers on it. Balls of steel, Harbor Freight. Balls of steel. Well, folks, how are we going to make this piece of useful? Well, I think the secret is the 12-volt rating. Anytime I see a tool with a 12-volt rating, I automatically think, oh, cool, I could power this with my car, or my ATV, or anything with a battery on it. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this into something that I can keep around in the trunk or the back of the ATV as an emergency backup breakdown tool. There's 2 options, really. One, you could plug a cigarette lighter port on the end of it and solder that in, plug it into your cigarette lighter, but then you're going to end up getting grinder dust and sparks all over the pleather. So I think what I'm going to do is take a couple of these battery clamps that I got from the junkyard. They were just sitting on the ground. They had jumper leads attached to them, so I just snipped them. The jumper leads were ruined anyway. So we're going to solder them onto the wires, and then we can clamp it onto the battery where, you know, with the fuel vapors and power steering fluid leaks, all that stuff, you know, where it's safe. I've got the connector snipped off and the wires stripped and tinned, It's important to note which one is positive and negative. Being a DC motor, if you switch this, the motor is going to spin the opposite direction. If you're using a sander or a cutting disc, that's probably not a big deal, but some of the routing bits are designed to spin a specific way, so try to keep that consistent. If you ever see wires where one has a marking on the insulation and the other is blank, usually the one with the marking is the positive. You can also know by looking at the jacket itself. The inner hole, the inner contact, is always going to be the positive, and the outer metal, that's going to be your negative or your ground. I'm having a little trouble with my little soldering iron trying to get all this copper hot enough to melt solder. So what I'm going to do is cheat. Don't try this at home. Well, you can try it at home if you want to, but don't blame me. Hold it steady till it cools. Eventually. Map gas may be too hot for this. Gonna go ahead and crimp the edges over just for a little extra connection, strength. Alright, there's one. Let's do the same thing for the ground terminal. We've got our battery out of the old Firebird. May she rest in peace. Put the red to the red, black to the black, and see what we got. Alright, it works, and I'm fairly certain this battery is capable of putting out 1 amp. So we've eliminated the crappy power supply. By throwing out the other collets, we've eliminated that problem. It's still a cheap, crappy tool, but it's something you can leave bouncing around in your toolbox or in your trunk and probably never need it, but it was $7. So I think we actually have a need for it now. That'll be part 2 of this video. Thanks for watching.